whiskey and whatever.
We have Hochstetler's Slow and Low, Union Made, straight rye whiskey.
Remember Mr. Hochstetler from Stalag, from Hogan's Heroes?
And I will keep my eye on you, Hogan. You have not heard the last of this. Stop drinking!
No.
That's Hoch. Is that Stadler?
Stadler.
Stadler. Hochstetler. Yeah.
Stadter.
Yeah.
Stadter, yeah.
So what is it? Slow and what?
Slow and Low.
Slow and Low.
And this one I hadn't seen before. This is Town Branch.
Well, you know, I defer to you. You know more about this than I
This
do.
one I've never
Aged
tried.
pot
We're gonna try
still rye whiskey,
Now the good thing about that one,
1884.
read the other side.
Our rock and rye is stirred slow over a low heat to marry the robust rye whiskey with the raw honey and dried navel oranges.
Yeah, baby.
I got a new favorite toy.
Yeah?
It's a pressure cooker. So you know the old pressure cookers? They
Yeah.
blow up on you.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
stuff.
Things that little
Yeah,
plants.
yeah,
that
yeah.
go with it.
Little valve release, but like your grandmother's pressure cooker, your Aunt Jenny's,
Uh-huh.
you know, pressure cooker. Anyway, this thing, it rocks, man. I mean, they're electric now. They've got safety features built in. And the one that I like is called Instapot. But so I try to eat a lot of legumes, beans, and so it's a pain in the ass to cook them.
It takes forever.
It takes a long time. But a pressure cooker, man, I mean, it's like 10 fucking minutes. Well, this is new. I mean,
This is new. Yeah, this place is new. We bought these windows, as you can see behind us. So we now have a place to look out upon the world. We got these new shirts. The shirts are new.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Am I on there?
Got the,
I mean, am I on the list to get a shirt?
Yeah. You're up next. You're in the queue.
That's good.
In the queue. You can't see it. You can.
So have you got this place booked?
This place is booked.
Two things. Why'd you name it Polygon? And what caused you to see the need? Why do you think Atlanta needs this?
First question first. Polygon, because one of the original spaces we looked at was shaped like home plate, and I got to thinking, you know, what's a name for a thing that, you know, is multi-sided, can have a lot of other depth in the meaning of the word. All the IP has to be available. You know, all the domain names and Twitter handles and all that kind of crap has to be available. Something that's a little bit evocative.
Yeah, it gets so hard to name something now.
That's easy to spell,
Yeah.
easy to remember, and is available.
Yeah.
And you run through this list. There's so I read something a long time ago. You know, Igor, the naming company.
Yeah.
So I read a post that one of the guys at Igor did probably 10 years ago, and it was the Igor naming guide, and they rate. They have this matrix that they fill in on the names. First they brainstorm, throw a bunch of names out, and then they score all of these names on this matrix. And that's always stuck with me when I start thinking about names. I'll just mentally, I've got a model in my head of that matrix, and I'll just run through that and what meets those criteria. It has to be evocative, it has to be memorable,
Yes.
has to be a little bit mysterious, has to be easy to spell, has to be defensible, protectable in terms of IP, available, obviously. Polygon fit all those criteria.
I remember when we named Talent Zoo, you know, and it was the late 90s. And I think we broke all these rules, you know. I mean, you don't name, other than Yahoo, you know, which is like a putz.
It's evocative.
It is, but you know, you didn't.
And it has mystery.
But you remember, I mean, you know, 15 years ago, most companies were named after people.
Yep.
You know, Smith, Jenkins, Wilson, you know, and it didn't take too long before you got fuckedcompany.com on the scene. I remember when we came up with Talent Zoo, we already had two clients because we had a working name, and we had two clients call right away, and they said, Rick, I'm calling you to tell you that you're making a big mistake. And one client was J. Walter Thompson, other client was Ted Bates Agency, which is went by Bates. But they thought that naming Talent Zoo was like a big mistake, and they were looking out for me. And you know, they ended up telling me what was wrong with it, and you know how awful a name it was. And I just kept thinking, you know, next to, no offense to Ted Bates, you know, or Jay Walter, but you know, I thought it was a great name.
Yeah.
And it just broke, you know, all the rules. And it's so hard to find things. You mentioned, you know, just even the domain name.
Yep.
You know, and you get all these hacks, and I don't like all the hack stuff always. Some of it works, some of it doesn't work. But I mean, you know, coming up with something that is
Yeah, I mean,
original.
there's all the like the .io and people are trying to do stuff with, you know, creative stuff with like the .ly. That's cool. But in the end, there's a certain amount of legitimacy that comes with .com that you can't get with any other TLD. You just can't get it. And even though it's polygonatl.com, that still signifies part of the geography, part of what it means, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
If it had to be like polygon-atlanta.io,
Yeah.
I mean, that's way down the list in terms of credibility. So I think you're very right. Being able to get something where the IP is available, where you can get that .com domain, is still critically important to the validity or the perceived validity of the business.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't know how many domains I own. A lot, and most of them are org.net, TV, .co. I
Right.
mean,
Yep.
I view them as mostly worthless. I'm not into domaining, but if it wasn't .com, it was largely worthless.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, at
So-
the time it was ComNet and org. That's all you
Yeah.
had.
Yeah, yeah.
You couldn't get into the government
Yeah,
space.
you got EDU and Gov, and you know.
Yeah, you couldn't get those.
Yeah.
You couldn't get EDU, you couldn't get Gov, and you couldn't get anything that was like a .us or
Yeah.
anything. It was all locked down.
I don't even follow that stuff anymore, like, you know, top level domain stuff, you know, like, you know, .jobs, you know, the employment world was concerned about that, and the towns that we were concerned about that, and all the employment websites were concerned about, you know, that top level. But, you know, it's just
Too
become,
much to remember.
yeah, you know, I don't know, people complain about it. I mean, I think you work on your branding, and, you know, a lot of it will take care of itself.
So before we go too far, what was the first domain name you bought?
I think it was workonline.net, and almost had the guys at workonline.com were going to sell it to me for $2,000. I'm like, no, it's too much, you know. And so I walked away from that. You
You
know,
buy the .net for 100.
yeah, I got the .net. You know, and it was just a working thing. I needed it for something. You know, there weren't many people on the net. I mean, at the time.
Okay, when was that?
That was 1997, I believe. 97. That I think we got. It might have been 96. It might have been 96. So I don't know how many people. I mean, there weren't that many people on the net. You know, in the early
No, it
90s.
was
I mean, I
pretty
think
low.
I was on somewhere 92, and I don't think there were a million people on. You know, but I remember reading years later that, you know, like there weren't even a million servers, you know, until like 2001 or something. It was like crazy. I'm like, really? I mean, so we had our own servers, you know, way ahead of the game, and we're online early on. I don't say that from a bragging standpoint, because frankly, if you knew how early I was on to a lot of stuff, the fact that I didn't make any money, you know,
Right.
shows what a dumbass I am.
Yeah.
Whatever.